Alright kids, welcome to a grammar concept that will probably continue to plague you for the rest of your lives. But it gets better, I promise. Not perfect, but at least better. So here's the basic concept. You need to understand that a sentence has a subject and a verb. See, look, subject and verb makes a sentence. So if you look at the example, my friends walk along the path, we start with the verb. What's happening? Walk. I know that's a real verb because it tells time. I can tell that walk happens in the present. If you can ever look at a word that you think is a verb but you can't tell if it's happening in the past, present, or future, it's not a real verb. It's some kind of ninja adjective pretending to be a verb or something. I'll show you some examples later, but they have to tell time. So we see walk. Walk is the verb. We say, who walks? Friends walk. I've got a subject and verb and it makes a complete thought. So there you go. That's what a sentence is. To be a fragment, something goes wrong. It either doesn't express a complete thought or it's missing a subject, a verb, or the helping verb. That's usually what's going to help it tell some time. So let's look at these examples. Knows the answer. Well, it's a sentence fragment because knows is a verb, but who knows? It's missing the subject. The bright red car, also a subject fragment because if I say, well, what's happening? You can't tell because it is missing a verb. Now this example, this next one, it's a little bizarre. We skiing next week. I mean, seriously, who's going to mess up we skiing next week? It sounds like Cookie Monster. Anyhow, it is a sentence fragment. It's missing that helping verb. If it said we were skiing next week, we'd be able to tell time. It would make sense. You're not going to mess that one up. I think it's an odd example, but I'll show you some better ones later on. So here we go. Remember to always read the prompt, which is a complete sentence. So I'm going to check them both, and I'm going to check for verb and subject. So Emily determined the diameter of the circle. What happened? Determined. Who determined? Emily. Complete thought. Check. Next one. Started making his own yogurt and cheese after inheriting a small dairy farm. What's happening is the started making. Now you might have thought it was inheriting, but inheriting can't tell time, can it? Could be is inheriting, was inheriting, so that's not the verb. Started making, now that does tell time. It's in the past. But who started making? We don't know. It is not a complete thought. My complete sentence is the top one. In this next example, remember to read the prompt, which is the sentence fragment. All right, here we go. After the trial, new evidence emerged about the case. Now that just feels like a sentence, but let's double check. What happened is emerged. What emerged? Evidence. And it's complete thought? Okay, it's a complete thought there, so it's not a fragment. The reporter writing an article with questionable sources. Now again, the thing that looks like a verb is this writing, but when? Present? Past? Future? I can't tell. It would need to have a was in there, and even there, it doesn't work. The reporter, well, I guess you could. The reporter was writing an article with questionable content would tell me past. That would then be a sentence. But it's not, so I would choose this one for my answer. Which is a sentence fragment. Now this one, they don't give you two options. They expect you to make the guess just based on the one you see. Sneaky little IXLs. All right, the Modern Art Museum's award for the most promising young artist. Well, that just doesn't even feel done, does it? I'm going to guess fragment, but to prove it, I'm going to check for my verb. Oh, look, no verb because nothing is happening. Yes, it is a sentence fragment. Another one is this a sentence fragment. The manager announcing Grayson as the grocery store's employee of the month. Now, because of how I read it, again, it sounds like a fragment, but you might not have caught on to do that when you're reading it, so we have to prove it. Announcing, again, looks like a verb, doesn't it? Do you see that ing? Participle. And there's no helping verb to tell us if it's is announcing, was announcing, will be announcing. Yep, it's a sentence fragment. Ah, they just don't stop, these IXL folks. Now you have to choose between three. And we're looking for which is the complete sentence. So we're going to check all three. Aesop's fables present important life lessons, often in a humorous way. The verb, what happens? Present. Who presents? The fables present. And it feels complete. All right, I think it's that one, but let's keep looking. Layers and layers of cheese, lettuce, tomatoes, and onions. Doesn't feel done. And I know it's not done because there's no verb. Is an expert at distinguishing safe mushrooms from poisonous ones. This one's kind of tricksy. You might think distinguishing it first, right? But it's not is distinguishing or was distinguishing, so it can't be that. But there is a verb in here. It's is. It's one of those little helping verbs. It kind of hides the little being verbs. But what is? We don't know because there's no subject. So it can't be that one. So yes, this top one here is my complete sentence. And one final example. Which is a complete sentence? Let's check them all. A long pleated skirt with a floral print. Well, that's just a thing. There's no action there at all. So not a sentence. The suspect forfeited his right to a trial by a jury. Forfeited is a verb. It does tell time. Who forfeited? The suspect forfeited. And it is a complete thought. So that's probably it. Let's check the next one though. My parents' business flourishing thanks to online advertising. Ah, there's your ing again. This word here that we think is a verb doesn't tell time. So it is not. If you want to be really fancy, this whole thing is called a nominative absolute. But that's fancier than we're getting today. So good luck identifying complete sentences and fragments.